Now in this video, we're going to showcase all the Season 2 changes side by side with the current edition of the game. That way you can easily compare and contrast all the changes and how much they actually matter. Plus, I'm going to give you some insights I found while playing the pre-test, and we're going to break it all down. But it says only 10% of you are subscribed, so let me try to sell you on why you should subscribe. We have so much freaking content coming for Season 2, including breakdown meta guides, new hero guides, including one over Emma Frost, of course. Spider-Man did not get nerfed, and I'm writing a anti-dive guide right now, so if any of that sounds good to you, smash that subscribe and let's get into it. Now, Captain America is going to lose 25 base health, but because he's an anchor, he's going to gain 100 health, which is a 75 HP bump overall. In addition to that, he's going to lose 50 shield value from Living Legend, but he is going to gain 5% damage increase across his entire kit. So you can see the changes here. I'm not even doing any combos or anything like that. I want you to see the raw damage increase. And remember, with Cap, all this little amounts of damage add up. Normally, he's just hitting with pillows. And now he, stuffed a little something in that pillow. You know what I'm saying? So overall, I think this is a really good change for Cap. Now, for Doctor Strange, this is how much damage he's going to do now compared to what he did before. This isn't a major change by any metric. And remember, he's going to get a big buff in health now that he's an anchor. So it's a little bit of pros and cons. He does less damage now, but he's tankier and he can survive longer. And you can see the Maelstrom of Madness conversion ratio. It just got down from 1.3 to 1.2. Very minor, but you can still see the difference here. Now for Hulk, the movement speed is going from 600 to 650. He's walking a little faster. You're not really going to be able to tell, to be honest. But that indestructible guard from 12 seconds to 10, that's a really big buff. Having that at a higher uptime, and as you see, now you don't even have to charge the leap that long. Now it's only 0.5 seconds instead of 0.7 before you can jump. That's just more uptime on that jump just to get out of situations. More uptime on those bubbles. This is a nice change all around for Hulk. Combine that with the Namor Squid synergy, and yeah, we got something cooking right now. Now, Magneto is just an increase in ultimate cost, 3,100 to 3,400. You could see the slight differences here when he's doing damage to the same people, the same amount of damage. It's not going to be a massive change, but it is going to be something notable. Now for Penny now doesn't get reduced nearly as much when she's firing. Instead of 40% slow, now it's only a 20%. She's moving around quite a bit faster, and now the web cluster has a chance to crit, and it does a lot more damage when it does crit. But keep in mind, when I'm doing this, it's not the easiest to actually hit consistent crits when you're moving and you're at range. It has a little bit of a spread, so unless you're close, you're not guaranteed to hit crit, but any amount of crit is just extra damage. So I think this is a really nice buff to Penny. Plus that increase to base health is gonna be felt. 100 increase is crazy. Now for the Thing, now when he leaps onto allies, he's only going to give them and himself 25% reduction instead of 30. Not a crazy big difference at all, but something of note that I wanted to point out. Thor now, he is actually getting an increase in his normal base health from 525 to 600. However, he's losing the anchor bonus. So he's no longer going to be at 625. He's going to be at a flat 600, which is overall a nerf to his HP. He does get slight compensatory with 50 more movement speed, but it's, once again, you're not even going to really know. But also, you're not really going to notice 25 HP that much either. So Thor just is the same, except he lost that synergy with Cap and Storm, so that kind of sucks. Now, Black Widow, now she's going to be able to shoot immediately after the second kick Edge Dancer. You can see the difference here. She also can shoot right away after the ultimate ability. Now, I don't play Black Widow enough to really see the difference, but I imagine that this is going to open up more counter dive opportunities, more burst opportunities, and just make her close range and burst combo with her ultimate a bit better. For Hawkeye, this was really noticeable. Instead of 30% slow, it's 20% slow. Being able to knock a bow and move quite a bit more is just better overall. Hypersonic arrow, that E getting a 5% damage increase on both hits, the first one and the second one, so 10 damage total. It was nice. And then I really noticed that draw speed increase. It's like freaking rapid fire in that ultimate. Yeah, tanks are gonna get freaking melted into this. It's actually wild. Now for Hela, she's getting an increase in cooldown for her flight from 12 to 15, and a decrease in cooldown for her stun from 12 to 10. And then this is the differences that you can visualize between the spell field damage of her alternate fire, Piercing Knight. This is before, this is after. It's only a 5 damage increase, but it does add up, and you can see the difference here. Now, Johnny is going to be able to attack faster. There's less of an attack interval when he's shooting his primary fire. So this means that the timing's a bit advanced and it's just faster overall from 0.6 to 0.5. Not a crazy change, but I want you to see this, the flaming meteor, when he slams down. Now he gets an immediate 75 bonus health, and it's going to start to fall off 3 seconds later at a rate of 30 per second. So he's going to have a bit of extra health for a while, meaning that he can get back to safety, and he's not as likely to get burst down in his most vulnerable moments. Now, for Iron Man, he's going to have a smaller hitbox overall, but more interestingly, he's going to gain 100 bonus health when he uses Armor or Gamma Overdrive, his E ability that lets him do more damage, and it's going to start to fall off 5 seconds later at a rate of 30 per second. So that's crazy. I mean, look at how long I have this extra armor, and I'm really just able to go in, be aggressive. I'm not as much at risk of dying. I really think this is a crazy big change to Iron Man, and I think that if you cycle this properly, you're going to be able to push characters, and they're not going to have the means to kill you because you're going to gain so much health, and you're still very lethal, and you're going to be slightly harder to hit as well. Really, really big changes to Iron Man, I'm not going to lie. Now, for Iron Fist, when you use your Harmony recovery when you're meditating, you're not going to get 150, you're going to get 100. But notice the much slower fall-off rate at 15 per second instead of 25. You get that extra health quite a bit longer, and you can kind of see that. And while now his damage is going to be reduced, it's from 10 to 9, it's going to do more damage for enemies of max health, where it's going to do, instead of 1.7%, it's 2.1%. The math looks like if they're 275, it's the same amount of damage, but anything more than that, they're going to do more damage. So Iron Fist is just going to be just generally better. Also, his kick is from 12 to 10. So just more kicks, just overall better. I think that Harmony change is a good one. So it's just all around better for squishies, but then you're way more powerful against tanks. So you have the ability to attack a squishy, pivot on a tank, and yeah, this is really big buffs to Iron Fist. And as someone who mains the thing and is learning Gru, I might start banning this motherfucker. Anyways, let's talk about Mr. Fantastic. More base health at 375 instead of 350. Now the stretch punch is going to do a bit more. It's going to do 5 more normally, and then 5 more while in the inflated state. You can see the damage difference here. Now, when you use flexible elongation, it's going to actually make enemies suffer a 35% slow effect, and there's going to be a reduction of the cooldown of flexible elongation from 10 to 8. So these are all really big buffs to the character. Now, that being said, you're going to reduce the elasticity gained from elastic strength from 30 to 20, while the elasticity provided by stretch punch is increased from 5 to 8. So your normal punch, you're going to get more, but you're going to get less from your elastic strength passive ability overall. Now, once you are inflated, you're not going to get as much bonus health. Instead of 450, it's going to be 400. Now, what this all means is that in general, this character is going to be far stronger, but there is going to be a slightly longer window of time where he's not in the big bodied mode, and I think really good players might be able to punish that. But most of the time, the character is just going to be all around better, more damage, more effects, slow effects. I mean, it just is all really, really crazy. Plus, the ultimate now, you're going to gain bonus health that is equal to gaining that in the inflated state. So you don't need to wait until you're big to pop it. You can just pop it whenever you have it, and you're already big. You're slamming down. All of these are great freaking changes for this. And while there is a small amount of nerfs to the amount of charge that you're building up to get into the big body mode, it's really just small potatoes compared to the massive buffs that this character has. Now, for Moon Knight, not only is your primary going to be faster from 120 meters per second to 150, but notice how the alternate fire ability is going to get 25 bonus health up to a max of 100, and then 3 seconds after the bonus health stops increasing, it will start to fall off at a rate of 20 per second. So look at how much health I'm getting on Moon Knight just hitting these Lunas, and that's a crazy amount of HP that when you combine it with the fact that the hook now activates or starts to pull you within 0.15 seconds instead of 0.4 seconds, you have a lot more counterplay to people that are diving you. Not only are you just going to have more health in the neutral, so you're harder to poke out, but if you're fighting someone, you hit them, you gain 25 extra bonus HP, then you get to jump away. It's just more likely that you can outplay them, and with faster primary movement speed, it's going to be easier for skilled players to hit them. So I think all of that is good at covering up Moon Knight's main weakness, which is fighting other DPS and people that want to fight him. Now, in addition to that, the ultimate is going to be better. It's going to last longer from instead 3.5, it's 4.5. There's more talons. Instead of 14, it's 18. and the fall has been slightly enhanced. The fall speed has been slightly enhanced. Now, that being said, there is a new fall-off mechanic that begins at 1.5 meters from the center, reaching a maximum reduction of 70% at 5 meters. So if you're close to the edges, taking less damage than if you're right in the center. So, you know, if you have any sort of movement, if you're not, like, being hit right in the center of it, you're gonna be fine. But it's that much more lethal if you are caught in the center or, like, stunned in the center, like with a Groot or something like that. Now, for Scarlet Witch, there's a lot of damage changes here, but remember, she lost her damage as being part of the anchor. So a lot of these buffs are kind of meant to offset the nerf that she got when she no longer was an anchor, when they removed that team up with Magneto. So, you know, her primary is now going to do 80% instead of 60, but remember, it was 15% damage increase with the team up that she no longer has, so it makes sense. Now, her burst projectile went up from 35 to 40 projectile damage and 35 to 40 spell field damage, and they're going to increase the cooldown of Mystic Projection from 8 to 10, and the reduced phase state from 2 to 1.5. So the mobility got a nerf, but the damage more or less stayed the same. You can look at the differences here, and also remember, she got a new team up, and it's freaking crazy with Doctor Strange. Just an insane amount of output of damage. We'll be able to show a little bit of that here. I mean, yeah, overall, it's going to be nice. Plus, I want you to notice the difference in the ultimate. Now, the slow effect of popping your ultimate doesn't start until 1.5, and then linear increases to a 35% slow at 3.5 seconds. So at the very beginning, you're actually faster, and then you slow down. So it's a slight buff to the ultimate. So these damage buffs aren't as crazy as you would think. It kind of keeps her in the same ballpark. Still overall a buff in damage though, but at the cost of a reduction in mobility. But you do get that team up, so I think it's all a wash. For Star-Lord, his E is now going to be reduced in damage from 80 per second to 75, and there's the new fall-off mechanic starting at 4 meters and maxing out at 80% reduction at 8 meters. As you can see, it does a little bit less damage from afar as it does up close now, and just a little bit less damage overall, which I think is reasonable because Star-Lord was very, very strong in this most recent patch. Now, for Bucky, you see that his hook cooldown, it's from 8 to 12. That's a 4-second increase. That's quite substantial. And then now the ultimate's going to do only 80 instead of 100. And the culling threshold is at 15 instead of 20. You can see what that looks like here, how much damage you have to do to insta-kill. Now you have to get them lower to instantly kill them than you did before. Now, for Wolverine, there's a ton of changes to his rage, but I'm just going to give you the TLDR of what this means. So he's going to get less rage from everything besides his primary and taking damage. This means that if he wants to get substantial rage, he needs to get swipes in, like primary swipes in throughout the fight. And this means that he needs to brawl more, find opportunities to swipe in. He wants rage, and you're not going to just randomly get it by being able to just like alternate fire, grip someone. You're not going to get as much rage. You need to find places to just get Savage Claws in. Of course, getting shot is going to give you more, so that's overall a buff. But being able to do that is a big deal. Now, instead of someone being knocked down for a whole second with the ultimate, now it's only 0.75 seconds. This gives people that little window to stand up and pop an ultimate or an ability or something like that. So it is overall a nerf to his ultimate by quite a bit. I feel like that's only 0.25 seconds, but I really do think that actually matters more than you think. Adam Warlock's Soul Bond, instead of at 30 seconds, it's at 40 seconds. And his ultimate is going to res allies at 30% of their HP instead of a fixed 100, which is a nerf to a lot of squishies, but it's a buff to tanks, which is more important. That 40-second cooldown is really crazy, though. That's a long time. Cloak and Dagger now, instead of each of the 3 zones being calculated on separate timings, they're all gonna leave when the last one leaves, so it doesn't slowly fade away, which is always like kind of weird and complicated to like track. You see it, but then you're not in it. Even though you were in it, it's just kind of weird. So I think this is a good change. Invisible Woman, just 50 shield reduction on that Guardian shield, nothing major. Loki, 5-second increase in the cooldown in regeneration domain, as you see here. I do think this is much lighter of a nerf than Adam Warlock got, considering Adam Warlock got a 10-second increase instead of a 5, and that cooldown doesn't start until the soul bond is over, versus Loki starting when he pops the domain and he's still using the domain. Mantis now can apply double stacks of heal or allied inspiration, which is the damage boost, and you can see it here on the right with the bots. It lasts a crazy long time. I think being able to double stack people is nuts, and it allows you to potentially have a lot more people stacked up on the battlefield if you're constantly getting dinked. double stack heal, double stack damage, dink, 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 double stack heal, double stack damage, dink, 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 dink. You can just, like, create a lot of fully independent people constantly getting healing. And you're gonna also just randomly be in fights with people that Mantis is helping when she's just not there, and you're like, how's this person getting healed? How's this person doing so much damn damage? It's because Mantis kind of stacked them for 16 freaking seconds, but it comes at the reduction of 25 base health. Now, last up is Rocket, and now Rocket's AoE is actually going to do less. Instead of 70 healing per second, it's only 50, but you get that one-time burst of 55. Look at how much burst that one-time burst does to these bots. It's quite a bit. And I did want to note the jetpack cooldown, instead of 6 seconds, it's 10. And instead of 10 meters, it's 8. And you can see the difference here. It's pretty noticeable, to be honest. This is a pretty big nerf to Rocket's movement overall, which was very, very good. I think it's still going to be a good movement overall, but not as good. But this ultimate, man, wow. Making Rocket 400 HP when he's using the ultimate. Yeah, you're not doing as much damage, but look at how much healing his team has, how much health him and his team have. That's crazy. That is so freaking strong. And yeah, no, I think that is actually gonna be really, really powerful. Now, note, it's gonna be less good at comboing and trying to kill through enemy defensive ultimates, but it's just generally better all-around ultimate, in my opinion, that is likely to win you a fight. If you have a slight advantage, you use this, you win the fight easily. You can use it to create an advantage as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Rocket is one of the best characters in Season 2. But anyways, these are the side-by-side comparisons of every single character. Definitely let me know what shocked you the most about this patch. What are the characters that you think still need more nerfs, or maybe didn't get nerfed at all? And what characters need buffs that didn't really get targeted in this patch? Let me know in the comments down below. But do me a solid and smash that like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.